Hello, welcome and good evening as we go to the Bahrain International Circuit for round 3 of the Coach Dave Delta Pro Series Gold Split in the VMS Championship here on Le Mans Ultimate. My name is Edward Hunter. Joining me in the commentary box is the one, the only Chris Buxton, and our wonderful broadcast director, Nikolaus Domino. So then, Chris, welcome back for another exciting gold split race. Of course, last time out at Fuji, we were treated to a fantastic freeway fight, weren't we, in Hypercar with Jimmy Menard, ultimately the victor from Jack House. I think Martin Mergley was also involved in the early part of that race. It was a really, really good fight. Overshadowed only ever so slightly by the Platinum split the week after, which was even more incredible and unbelievable in every sense of the word. And of course, in the GT3 class, it was William Giovannini who won in his BMW, and now he is taking the lead of the GT3 standings. Remember, our top three all fighting for promotion to the Platinum split for Season 3, of course. But yeah, so many thrills and spills, twists and turns, and here in Bahrain, in Manama, in the Middle East, it's going to be a very, very interesting, not just the qualifying session, but the hour-long sprint race we've got in store for us. It could be another dramatic, exciting twist in the championship as all of our the drivers that didn't have so much good luck or had to miss a couple of races earlier this season looking to lick their wounds and come back much stronger here in the desert.
Absolutely. So, good evening, ladies and gentlemen, mothers, fathers, daughters, sons, brothers, and sisters. Yes, we are going to be in for another wonderful night's racing. We were at Fuji last time out. The Platinum split had some horrible weather to have to contend with, much like our F1 friends over in Miami, or certainly yesterday. Just to confirm, there does seem to be a bit of confusion. The title might say Platinum because someone may well have copied and pasted it from last week. This is the gold split, so this is the second tier. Not to say that they are lesser quality, just maybe not quite at the ultimate pace. There are still some very, 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 very good drivers. Let's be honest, far quicker than certainly I could ever manage. But yeah, so here we are. It's Bahrain. Very, very twisty circuit, although with some fair amount of right foot going on in the straights that we are going to enjoy as we are watching Romain Freirum. Again, I won't get that name right. I couldn't get it right quite last time, but I would try my best nonetheless. Right. It's still in the production is still unhappy about the livery that Romain is running. He signed up with one and is using the other. We can only talk about what we see. What can we say?
Yeah, so I mean, he's sticking with that one now, isn't he, Chris? So, yeah. And he's the only Cadillac, so it's not like we're lost in a sea of Cadillacs, or like we were the previous season in the what's now the Platinum split. There were a load of drivers that went for the Cadillac, and then of course there was an update, and the Ferrari 499P sort of became the car of choice. Although you are seeing experiments, you're seeing the likes of the Toyotas, the Peugeots, even the odd Porsche 963 being used as well in Hypercar. So plurality, diversity, we love seeing that in the car choices as well as in the actual drivers themselves from all four corners of the globe as well. You tend to find, although admittedly a lot of them are from Europe, so somewhat unsurprisingly as well.
True, but from various parts of Europe. They're certainly not all based.
We got Zach Duran here from the United States as well, the man who won the opening race of the season. He is back in the Mustang, and he's got his one drop round. Can't afford to drop too many more, so he knows that it's crucial he gets a good result here in Bahrain.
Very patriotic for the States driver to be running the Ford. I do see we have a question in chat. Who do you speak to potentially join the league for when the next season starts? A fantastic question we haven't really touched upon. Ed, where can people go to get more information about being part of this series?
Well, we do know there's the official VMS website, but I believe as we see the GT3 field just being released, as you're right on board with the front nose of Zach Duran, who nearly gets a face full of
the yellow Stangs.
Yeah, it's one of the 44s. It might be Maki Yupi that you just cut across him there. But anyway, in fact, it was Maki Yupi. There we go. Lucky. It's a good thing there's only one yellow Mustang, unlike in Platinum Split, where I'm pretty sure Seb Funch and Wojtek Polesny both used the yellow one. But anyway, as I was about to say, there is a link to the official Virtual Motorsport Series Discord in the YouTube description, unless that's been taken away. Let me have a quick check. It should be there. Yep, it certainly should be there. Yes, right at the bottom, join the Discord, just underneath the adverts for our sponsors, the SimGrid and Coach Dave Setups, of course, who help sponsor the Gold Split in particular. So make sure to check both of those out too. Fantastic sponsors that are supporting us and supporting us sim racing as a whole as well, with the wonderful services that both of them provide. So yeah, you go on the Discord, you get in contact with the organizers, and they should we have, of course, got the silver split, which is the sort of entry-level tier into what's broadcast. We've got the gold split here, which is the middle one, and then the platinum split is our top one for the elite, the best of the best. And of course, a lot of the drivers in the gold split are in gold because there just literally was not space for them in platinum, so that somebody had to be dropped down. And in the end, it was the likes of Jack Cowles and Zach Duran, of course, in Hypercar and GT3 respectively. But there are a couple that could well spring surprises and get into that top 3 for promotion come season 3. The seasons are just going to come thick and fast, I'm afraid. So make sure that you act sooner rather than later if you do want to join. But yeah, I think that's about as much information as I've got to hand immediately. I think if I try to join myself, I'm not sure that I would qualify for silver split. I'd probably be one of those drivers that coasts around at the back and maybe scoops up 1 or 2 points, but isn't particularly impressive or on camera for very long. As we look at our GT3s about to start their first flying lap. I actually I was at Buckmore Park yesterday, and we had a sim set up, a Assetto Corsa mod of Buckmore, and I was very glad that I didn't set the slowest time. I think fastest was like a 49 something. I set like a 51.0 or something like that. It was annoying because the photographer guy we had at the event beat my time by less than half a tenth of a second, which annoyed me all the way through. And I was on the other side of the track, so I didn't get a chance to I didn't get right of reply, as it were. But nonetheless, to be like 5th or 6th out of all the drivers there, I wasn't too upset, considering I've not done sim racing in quite a while because I'm switched to the common. Anyway, here comes Zach Duran looking to retake that championship lead from William Giovannini, because he's 6th in the standings at the moment, having missed Fuji last time out, and it was an endurance round. So that has hurt him in the overall standings a little bit. But of course, with there is a sort of dropped rule score in effect then, so that is going to help Zach Duran or limit the damage ever so slightly in terms of everyone's got to drop their worst result effectively. So as we see, he goes purple in the first sector, Chris. So yeah, Zach Duran very much picking up from where he left off in Imola.
Yes, we'll see if he's able to maintain that momentum. Yeah, I do a little bit of sim racing, but generally speaking, I subscribe to the triple L rule: last, lapped, and a liability. So I go very much for the commentary seat, as it's far safer for everybody concerned. On board then, still with Zach Duran, he goes through turn 10, and one of the shorter straights, but still gets all the horses galloping. Now, I will say that you may hear some noises in the background, as I do have my youngest, and he is threatening to make some noise in the background. And there we go, he's now making noises as I trying to speak.
Well, it's great to have free commentators with us then.
Yeah.
Headhunter, Chris Buxton, and Buxton
three
Jr.
contributors. Yeah.
Yes. Anyway,
watching,
this is looking like a really good lap.
Yeah, heading towards turn 14. Well, can those sectors stay purple? We have 11 GT3s. We have got 17 of our hypercar class ready to take to the field. Now, the qualifying does not all happen at once, hence why you can't see any hypercar class at the moment. All the GT3s have their 10-minute session, then with a few minutes left to finish the laps they are on, and then the hypercars come out to play straight afterwards. As we see, yeah, Zach Duran getting dead. I can't speak at all. Again, trying to maintain his momentum from Imola, of course, taking that opening win, then not with us last time out. As we look at Nico Barkley in the BMW. No, he's not using a Mustang. What am I talking about?
It's white and blue. It looks a bit like a BMW.
Well.
Yeah, Barclay, of course, famously driver for One Acre Sim Racing, goes up to third, just a couple hundred shy of William Giovannini then. So a good lap by him, but Will Giovannini is not too far away from that pole position. It's 159.264, and Giovannini is exactly 0.264 of a second behind. So that's a nice little symmetry there, which will no doubt please Zach Duran at the present moment. Could be a pleasant moment, I don't know, but let's hope it lasts. From his point of view, Giovannini will hope to break the spell then, as we look at Marco Bischoff, the man second in the standings in that Ferrari, and it'll be interesting to see. The Ferrari has been a very, very solid car of choice. In Bischoff's hands, the German has got it into second at both Imola and Fuji. Can he get 3 second places in a row here in Bahrain? He is not too far away in the first sector, but the middle sector is gonna let this lap down ever so slightly, nearly 4/10 off then. So it's all going to come down to these last couple of corners then. He's on the run to the line now. Can Bischoff get himself onto the front 2 rows? That would set up his race incredibly well, and he goes 4th. There we go. Very close actually to Nico Barclay, and he jumps ahead of Yuki Makiyuki in the 44 Mustang, though, as Zach Duran gears up for another quick lap, and William Giovannini is already in the beginning of his second flying lap.
That he is, just dethroned by 2/10. So Giovannini, purple sector 1, only just 8 thousandths of a second to the good for the BMW. He's being chased by, I don't know, I think it might be Nick Daly actually in the other Ferrari. Really loose tail end for William Giovannini there, just coming out of, I think it was turn 8.
It was 8, yeah.
Yeah, so it's the tail getting very, very loose for him. Out of turn 10, keeps the foot very, very well planted. Growled past us with the eyes glaring into our soul. I still love that touch on the front of the BMW, the way that those lights just look like eyes glaring at you. Into turn 11, keep the car fairly well set, and he's bailed. So that's a shame. It was looking good. He's already actually been knocked out of second, has Giovannini, by Nico Barkley in the Mustang.
Yep, so the Mustang clearly working very, very well. I don't think Giovannini is too far away, though, in that BMW. If he could hit a cleaner middle sector, he might be able to strike back. But yeah, Zach Duran is consolidating that advantage. You see the American a 10th up in the first sector. Ooh, a little bit slower in the middle. And didn't look like he had too much traffic there, as the rear, threatening to hang out through turn 15. But he's got the Mustang very much under control, and like a lot of muscle cars, it's got really good grunt, really good straight line speed, but you've sort of got to hustle it through some of the trickier, more technical sections of the track, essentially, which Zach Duran did to great effect at the Imola track in Emilia-Romagna, of course, at the opening round of the season. And yes, another couple of tenths off in the final sector too, as we cut to Maciej Kosczyk in the Polish driver in the McLaren, the sole McLaren in the gold split this season, of course. So we know not a popular car choice. I think the only driver in the platinum split using the McLaren GT3. Kosczyk does a little bit of sand, throws up a little bit of sand by getting over the curb, just entering turn 15 there. But I'm trying to remember, it was who was it who uses the McLaren in the platinum split? It's Regan Mitchell, of course. Yes, there we go. The name just came to me exactly when I needed it to, which is lucky as a commentator.
Your memory's far better than mine.
Yeah, it was only a week ago as well. But yeah, it was Regan Mitchell was the only one that used the McLaren, and it's Kosczyk who's sort of the Regan Mitchell-like figure, I would suppose, here in the gold split as well. The only other drivers sort of bucking the trend, we see Galetti, who I don't think we've seen in action before. He is in the Aston Martin there, but yeah, you can see personal best in the first sector, but he's nearly 3 tenths away from Zach Duran's time already. And we Jerome Mitchell, the other driver, a regular fixture near the back of the field in the Corvette as he goes a little bit wide actually through the 910 left-hand sort of hairpin. That's a really, really tricky one because it's constant radius, just turning and braking through turn 9 to set up turn 10 and the run into turn 11 as well. So yeah, interesting to see. It's very much the Mustang and the BMW that I think are proving to be the cars of choice, although Marco Bischoff is proving his worth in the Ferrari that we've heard Luke Whitehead in the Platinum Split complaining so much about the BOP of the Ferrari, despite getting a couple of pole positions to his name. But over the race stint, the Ferrari does seem to be quite hard on its tyres, and that means that towards the end of the stint, it's just a bit of a handful, especially when it rains, of course. The Ferrari tends to be a little bit all at sea, to use a terrible pun as well. But, but anyway, we're getting to the end of GT3 qualifying. Marco Galetti, can he sneak a position? He's quite close to Nick Dealey at the present moment. He goes up to 8th ahead of Kustric and Dealey. So a good effort there from the Italian.
Yes, so GT3 qualifying session has now concluded. The checkered flag essentially being shown to them whilst the clock continues to count down. Anyone on a lap may well finish it, as we are looking at Marcel Kasprzyk in the McLaren. No, he's pulled over. He has had he's had enough of this particular lap, so he is done and dusted for the night as Jerome Mitchell parks up in the Corvette. He's even parking in the garage. Very nice. Well, why not? Nice and tidy of him. So anyone on a lap, which I don't know, I don't think any of our GT3s, indeed none of our GT3s are actually on a lap now. So all laps now concluded. So that is Zach Duran and Nico Barkley that have the front row in the Fords. And William Giovannini and Marco Bischoff have row 2 in the BMW and Ferrari, respectively. Juha Mäki-Jopi and Adrian Kabaki have row 3 with Julian Weissenberger and Marco Galetti row 4. Marcel Kasprzyk and Nick Deedy row 5 with Jerome Mitchell bringing up the rear in the Corvette. Ooh, now, in case you're wondering why the hypercars have not left the pit lane just yet, for those that may not be too familiar with the format, to prevent the hypercars or to prevent any one of the R2 classes having an unfair advantage, the hypercars are not released onto track until 10 minutes is left on the clock. That prevents them having more time on track than the GT3s. But also there's a 5-minute interlude between the two qualifying sessions to allow the GT3s to finish their laps and not impede any of the hypercars as they come out on track. So that is why the format is so. So we will have a little bit of downtime between now and when the hypercars are released. But let's have a look at championship standings then. It is Ferrari at the top of the tree. That's partly because Ferrari is a very, very popular choice in our hypercar class in both the gold and the platinum splits. Jack Howes and Jimmy Menard at the top of that particular tree. Adam Sapler and Francesco Adamu hot on their heels as well. And Lucas Kreuzer, Barnabas Frazikis in our lead Toyotas and Peugeot respectively. Christian Bonani in the Porsche with Pascal Gehring in the next Peugeot, Sachin Sobers in the second of the Toyotas, with Roman Freyren we saw briefly, and that's why the production keeps saying he's in the wrong colour because he should be in the number 3, but he's keeps running in the number 2. Rounding out the top 10, Marvin Busan, Martin Mergley in 11th and 12th, Olivier Demeliens in 13th, with Roman Merchant, the last of our point scorers so far in our hypercar class. Our sole Lamborghini, Yanis Bugera, yet to get off the mark, along with Lexi Taylor, Davide Chiesa, and Tobias Blumschein.
Yeah, and here then are the GT3 standings with, as you expect, William Giovannini after that brilliant victory at Fuji, leading by 5 points over Marco Bischoff, who's got 2 second places to his name. Nico Barclay, second on the grid here. He's on 29 points in that third spot at the moment. Julian Weisenberger, very consistent, also in 4th in his Mustang. 2 points ahead of Zach Duran, who, of course, had to miss the last round, but he's on pole for Bahrain. Yuka Mäki-Jopi is equal on points with Duran in 6th. Then it is Adrian Kabaki, 3 points further back in his BMW in 7th. Nick Dealey is in 8th with 9 points to his name. Masiej Kustric is 9th with 8 points. And then Belchio Neto is 10th, also with 8 points to his tally. Outside of our top 10, we've got Jerome Mitchell In 11th, Liam Rance on just 2 points. He was running well in Fuji before a late collision with a hypercar dropped him out of 4th position. Aaron Di Battista has just 1 point to his name in 13th. Then is Gustav Schubert, Jeremy Leitus, Marcus Nug, Rune Babers, and Maxime Wendler in the Porsche, yet to get their names off the mark. As there we go. I think we are about to see green flag or green light being shown at the end of the pit lane. There we go. And it's the Porsche 963 number 6 that seems to be first out. And that's Christian Benani, of course, who, as we said, was in the bottom end of the top 10 in the championship. And him and Mergley and one or two others, the few to sort of gamble on the Porsche, with a lot of the front runners going for the Ferrari or the Toyota.
Absolutely so. And the Ferrari certainly be the most popular choice as well in our platinum split. So makes our life interesting because most of them are red. One or two of them are yellow, in fairness. Jack Howells, our current hypercar leader, with 52 points on the board. He is being chased very hard by Jimmy Menard as we switch to Tobias Blumschein.
Oh, good to see Tobias. This should be his first round of the season then, because he's obviously had to miss quite a few. And we saw some very, very strong performances from him. I think he was runner-up at Fuji in the Contender Series, which was now what the gold split is. He was there was the runner-up a couple of times last season as well. So he's got some good pace in that Peugeot. It is the car that he's very much committed to. I don't think I've seen him drive anything other but the Peugeot in Le Mans Ultimate. So let's see if he can... Oh, no, he was in the BMW last season. I think he'd signed up for the Platinum Split last season in the Peugeot and then had to drop out. So that's what I'm getting confused with. But yes, he did get the opportunity to change his mind and did have some... He even got pole for Monza in a sort of wet-dry qualifying session. He was one of the few to gamble on the dries and just about got the pole lap in right at the death of that particular quali session. So, yes, Tobias Blumschein then, of course, blew it by... not switching back to the wet tyres in time for the start of the race when it was clearly wet. He was still in the pits when the dummy grid was released, which is such a easy mistake to make, to be fair. When you're under pressure, you see the weather's changed and you panic in between sessions. But anyway, Christian Benani is going to be our first to start a flying lap. And into the first sector he comes. He goes through turn 4 and towards the 5-6 chicane. And of course, unsurprisingly, being the first to set a lap time, he is the fastest through the first sector.
He is indeed. So 1:59.264 was our GT3 pole time. See what the hypercars can do. I think it was around the 1:35, somewhere around there. In practice, I must admit, I didn't make a particular mental note of what the lead practice times were before we came on air. But now coming through turn 10, here's the Porsche. And of course being chased by the rest of the field. A good representation of our hypercar field tonight. It's showing the GT3 is a little bit lighter in number. But either way, we are... Well, I mean, we had a great race, didn't we? Even with a bit of a depleted field 2 weeks ago for our gold split of Fuji. I mean, that was down to Easter somewhat with a bit of a depleted field. Oh, you saw the big counter steer there from Christian Benani. Turning left into a right-hander is never usually a great way of having to corner, but he had to catch the slide coming through turn 13. These cars not really liking being set up for sliding. The GT3, to a point, can slide and still have fairly good pace. These hypercars don't like it. They will get away from you very, very quickly if you do. The opening gambit at 45, okay, 45, not 35, beg your pardon, on the board initially for Benani. Mergley straight away beats that with a 44.870. The rest of the times now coming in.
Yep, here we go. Jimmy Menard, winner last time out. There we go. Fantastic middle sector in particular. He sets a 144.6 to go on provisional pole then. So the Ferrari's starting to stretch their legs. There's Jack Howells. Oh, personal best, of course, but not particularly quick on this opening lap in that number 51. So where is this going to put him? Potentially behind Martin Mergley, but there's a chance he might still be able to get onto the second row here. Out of the final corner he comes, and it looks to me like Jack Howells is setting up for the next lap rather than focusing on this one. He goes P7. There we go, 1.2 seconds off the pace with the final sector, 9/10 slow. But it's Lucas Cruiser in the Toyota. He's not cruising at all. He is absolutely going for it. And why not? Fourth at the moment. There's every chance he could snatch pole away from Menard and Adamu.
The only person not to set a time so far is Barnabas Fazekas in the Peugeot. We'll see what he is able to do later on. Yes, Lucas Kreuzer finding just 11 thousandths in that first sector to try and knock Jimmy Menard in the Ferrari off the top of the tree. See what he's able to do. We'll pick up a little bit of slipstream from that kind of distance. Rule of thumb I tend to operate by is if you're within about 0.8 of a second is when you'll start to really feel the effect of a slipstream. If you're outside of that, you will feel very little, if any at all. Yellow flag out there, so someone has gone for a bit of a wander somewhere out the field. And that'll be Lexi Taylor in the yellow Ferrari facing the wrong way. Where have you done that?
Turn 11.
It is. Yes, it is. Well spotted. So gone in a little bit too hot and then locked the brakes and ended up facing the wrong. Whoa! Again, Bloomshine. Tail end getting very, very lively on the Peugeot.
Yeah, Tobias the rear trying to get there before the front of that Peugeot through that corner, which is not ideal, of course, from Tobias's point of view. Nonetheless, though, Bloomshine, yeah, tiny gap between Mergely and Menard. So Mergely's set a 144.643, which is only a thousandth of a second quicker. And Adam Zapla as well has slotted in between Menard and Adamu as well. So yeah, Jack Howells has actually been knocked down to 10th. Remember, Fuji, it was qualifying that hurt Jack Howells. Always immediately put that right and gone nearly 3/10 quicker than Mergely. So the track is really starting to heat up in his final 3 minutes. Adamu, he takes pole for himself, 144.353. So purple final 2 sectors.
Yeah, tiny improvements. 29 thousandths down, 26 thousandths up, 16,000 up per sector. Leading to a 13,000 advantage over Jack Howells, who's not long set that lap as well. There's Pascal Gehring in the Peugeot, just a 10th off ultimate pace at the moment, finds himself in 8th position. Again, just looking at how loose these hypercars are, that's really quite surprising. These cars don't tend to like sliding around like that, but either way, we're finding a lot of drivers seem to be really fighting their cars somewhat. But what can the number, well, I say number 94, that's the livery number more than anything else. There's numerous of the same number. Banani's improved a position up into 6th position. Something else we noticed, wasn't it? Fuji, the times, particularly in the hypercar class, were very, very close. We'll see if we see the same again with Gehring. 3.5 tenths down in the second sector, coming down towards turn 14. Heavy on the brakes, and again just throws the nose in, the tail not liking that. A lot of understeer in the Peugeot. Fazekas has got a time in, we didn't spot that one. Up to 10th position, just 8/10 off the ultimate pace. 45.0 for Gehring keeps him in 9th place.
Right, Tobias Bloomshine also gets himself from near the back of the grid all the way up to 11th, then just outside the top 10, or the half a second off of Fazekas in front of him. So there is a little bit of a gulf there between some of our Peugeots then. But nonetheless, the lap time is starting to come to these drivers as we cut to Lexi Taylor recovering from that spin earlier on. And Lexi Taylor, of course, who has, I believe he is 15th in the championship, isn't he? Yet to get off the mark, just 14th place at Imola. To his name then. So how dearly Lexi Taylor, who was in the Porsche in the Contender Series last season in Hypercar, very, very solid driver, Lexi Taylor, and certainly he had one of his best performances of his GT3. No, he was in GT3 last season in the Ferrari, of course. No, I'm getting him mixed up with Dealer. Yes, yeah, it's Porsche Hypercar. It was in the Porsche Hypercar. So I forget what Lexi Taylor's best finish was last season. I think he got a 6th or 7th somewhere. But I don't remember where exactly it was. Might have been Monza. Yes, it was because of that the sort of dry, wet, dry conditions there. As Jack Howells is going yet faster in the first sector and is now aiming for Francesco Adamu. So the man in the lead of the championship, desperate not to let Jimmy Menard catch him. Menard is only a thousandth, of course, behind Mergely, but such a narrow margins. That's only good enough for 4th on the grid then, as Howells has had a slightly weaker middle sector here, so he's only really got time for one more lap. He absolutely hangs it through turn 15 there, so that shows you the confidence he's got in that Ferrari to try and pull that one off. But yeah, the car only just biting back and wrestling back under his control there.
Yeah, he had a big moment coming out of turn 11. That's what's cost him the time in that middle sector, and he's
Oh, and
even
that's
coming back
it.
into the pits. So Jack Howells will start no higher than second on this race. What about Romain Merchant in the Toyota? Where can he slot in then? So he's 81 thousandths off the ultimate pace in sector 1. So coming down towards turn 10, where can he slot in? It's like I say, currently 8th. Second of our Toyotas, the third one being Sobers down in 14th. Let us see then what the time will be for Roman. I can't remember where the timing line is for sector 2. It's around here somewhere. But
Yeah, here we go. It's
it's
between
one of
14
these
and
corners
15.
here somewhere. There it is. Oh, has lost a lot of time in sector 2, so that's going to be a bit painful. Well, that could be the still a decent middle pack result for Merchant. Safin Sobers will not be improving as he is in the pit lane. Marvin Butsan, 3 tenths down on the first sector, currently sits 13th. Still some improvement to find.
Right, so this all looks a little bit like it's going to end in a bit of a stalemate because nobody, even though the track has been improving as Romain Frey from decides he's had enough.
Someone's going the scenic route.
Yeah, there we go. Deciding to destroy that beautiful Cadillac. Let's hope that's not a dress rehearsal for the race. As we see Butsin, who is 13th at the moment, has got himself off the back row of the grid. 1.5 seconds off the pace, but it's not a brilliant middle sector. So that looks like it's it then. So Francesco Adamu, I think that confirms he will start from pole position. Jack Howells will feel a little annoyed they didn't come away with pole position. That very much completes our grid then.
That it does. There's all cars except Adam Sapler is still out there, but the grid looks like so. It's a Ferrari front row. Francesco Adami and Jack Howells have the front row to themselves. Martin Merkley and Jimmy Menard have row 2, Porsche and Ferrari respectively. Row 3, Adam Sapler and Christian Bonani in the Ferrari and Porsche. Row 4 is Lucas Kreuzer and Romain Merchant, a Toyota pairing on the 4th row for 7th and 8th. 5th row is Pascal Gehrig and Barnabas Fazekas, Peugeot pairing. Then row 6 is Tobias Blumschein and Roman Freyrum, 11th and 12th, Peugeot and the wrong car apparently. With Ferrari and Toyota, Marvin Butsan and Sakin Sobers. With Yanis Bagheera in our sole Lamborghini, with Olivier Demelians in the Peugeot. And then we come on to the front row of our GT3s, Lexi Taylor and Zach Doran. Zach Doran being our pole sitter for GT3s. Row 2, Nico Barkley and William Giovannini. Row 3 has Marky Bischoff and Juha Makiopi, whose name I'm still not convinced I'm saying correctly. Adrian Kabaki and Julian Weissenberger have the next row, what is now row 13. Marco Galetti and Marte Kasperczyk have the 13th row, and Nick Dealey and Jerome Mitral have the tail end of the field with, a very late joining Belchoir Nito. And obviously joined during the qualifying session, or too late to actually qualify. So the treble 7 of Nito joins us very, very late on. So a charge from the tail end of the field. It is only an hour race. So yes, long enough to do something like that. But it's not an endurance race. It is more the sprint format, so 1 hour from lights out to flag.
Yeah, and Belchior Neto, of course, 9th in the championship, 8 points to his name. He's right behind Nick Dealey as Ferrari, who's got 9 points, obviously, from finishing 7th last time out. So, yeah, another British driver like Nick Dealey looking to sort of pick up the pieces, get some good points, but he's got a lot of drivers to overtake and only an hour in which to do it, whereas the likes of... let's say Nico Barclay, Zach Duran, William Giovannini, they're all at the sharp end. They're going to have that podium fight you would expect very much to themselves.
How much content this race is David John Gibbons? Well, only one way to find out, and that is to stick with us throughout this 1 hour of Bahrain for the gold split round number 3 of the championship, of which Giovannini leads the GT3s and Jack Howells leads the Hypercar class. This is a very drunk camera operator. He needs, there we go.
The Paul Greengrass school of camera direction.
So then we're just waiting for our drivers to make any last-minute changes they're able to make and join our field. Look at that, thousandths of a second between Sapler and Banani. The tail end of the front of the hypercars. Very, very close in number of aspects. So then, someone's just staying in the pits. No, it's warm in here. I'm not coming out. Well, suit yourself, but you're not going to get any points if you do that.
Yeah, it's annoying because Adamu and Hal's in the exact same car, so we'll have to really do some guessing to figure out which one is which. I'm pretty sure it's Adamu on the outside, and is it Hal's on the inside? Because the outside is the racing line, of course. But I don't know if it's the other way around, and the inside is... Yeah, it is Adamu on the inside, exactly the opposite of what I just said. Jack Howell's on the outside.
It's fine. You're amongst friends here, Ed. It's fine. It's all good. Right. Let's get the short rolling lap underway then. As you can see, the counter hitting 0, ready or not. Here we go.
Yeah, it's more just releasing from the dummy grid for a rolling start, essentially. So, as the plenty of tyre smoke being thrown up into the Bahrain evening sun. But now, our 3 Ferraris and the Porsche, we expect, I think that top 5 is very much going to be the group fighting for victory in Hypercar, much like we saw at Fuji, a lot of the same names. But Adamu has a great chance to sneak his way into the top 3 in this championship if he can hold the lead. And we're about to get going then as the green flag shows, and Sachin Sobis has already jumped the start. As around the outside, it's Howells that gets the best getaway, but he's got to somehow hold on to that lead, sweeps across the front of Adamu, and now Jimmy Menard is coming across as well. So it's the same top 2 we saw coming to the fore in Fuji that are now running first and second now, as now Banani and Mergoli forced their way through into 4th and 5th there. So Adam Zapla very much losing out, and now he's picky in the middle almost as Howells and Menard go side by side. It's almost 5 wide in the background. Goodness me, it's Howells holds on to the lead, and it looks like Zapla going back up the inside of both Porsches to go back up to 4th.
Yeah, I don't envy Nick Domino trying to figure out which pack to look at. There are a lot of them. Everybody, it does look like everybody has survived though, without too many major incidents. Sort of wondered if we were going to have a bit of a car introducing themselves to another at the bottom of the shot there, but no, it does look like everybody has survived. But what a start from Jack Howells. He's already 1.3 ahead of the equally well starting Jimmy Menard. So goodness me, if your first name starts with J, go to the front of the queue. But Adamu is glued himself to the back of Jimmy Menard. Here's the front of our GT3s. It's Giovannini, but he's is he leading on GT3s? No, he's not. He's still at the front of that. So
yeah, I would say the black Mustang that's in the lead of the GT3 field is the one that's leading.
But, yeah, that'll be the one. Yeah,
I'm sure William Giovannini will not mind at all. You just arbitrarily giving him the lead like that. But yeah, Giovannini crucially has jumped Nico Barkley at the start here, as Bischoff is now sort of keeping a watching brief on our front 3. So I think Bischoff has been able to gain a couple of places too in that Ferrari that we didn't expect to be one of the fancied cars. Bischoff, through stealth almost, has been able to get his way into second position in all the races so far. And if you look in the background, Nick Dealey in his Ferrari was also holding up a train of cars in the fight for 6th as well. Now Adamu, having lost pole, is all over back of Menard. Whoa, Sapler's around, and so is Banani. Oh dear, what an absolute mess into that first corner there. So I think there were 2 separate incidents, and Sapler rejoins, barging into the Peugeot, and I think Banani got hit there again.
Oh, that was a horrendous rejoin from Adam Sapler. There will most certainly be words said about that. That was not good at all. Whether that was just too impatient to get on the throttle and get back in the race, or misjudgment, whatever it was. Bouncing off of several cars, causing himself no end of damage. Oh dear, oh dear. I suspect there will be a few words said about that, as we're still nearly 3 wide. Coming down towards, that's turn 8, isn't it, that they've just gone through. So, oh no, as we got more bouncing going on, as Sakin Sobers misjudged his braking, bounces himself off the tail end of Marvin Button, and then gets belted by Pascal Gerrig. Oh dear, it's getting very, very scrappy in our hypercar field, but hopefully they'll start to kind of settle down again. I think people are taking the hour, the shorter race timer quite a little bit too serious. Yes, it is shorter than the 2.4-hour endurance races we have in the season. You do have time, gentlemen, to pick up from mistakes. That was a big snap there from, I think, Barnabas Fazekas, as we're riding on board with Sobers, having a look to try and make up a position on Marvin Butson. No, sorry, it's Gehrig trying to make a move on Sobers, I beg your pardon. I will get it right, I promise you. But look at Jack Howes. Look at the timing tab. 3.7 seconds to the good over Jimmy Menard, who is still fending off the advances of Francesco Domu. But still riding on. Oh, there was several side-by-sides going on at the beginning of lap 3. Is Lexi Taylor being hustled to the outside, almost off the road at turn 2 by Christian Bonani. And then into the pits comes Marco Bischoff. That surely cannot be a planned pit stop for him, so trouble for the Ferrari. That was a drive-through penalty for Marco Bischoff. Oh dear, oh dear. That is not going to help him at all. Whilst it is, you do have time to make up for a mistake, making up that much lost time, especially in a field like this, is going to be very, very difficult. So he's going to have to hope for misadventures from others to try and make up that kind of gap. As we now look at the front of our GT3s, Zach Duran built up 1.3 near enough, or just over, from Giovanni, who has still got Nico Barkley in his mirrors. How is Jack Howell running off into the distance like this? If he's playing Russian roulette with his fuel tank, perhaps, that's a dangerous move to do. But, well, we will see. We'll see if that pays off for him. Someone did wander off the road, so we did briefly see a yellow flag there. Now, Jack Howells could be using a lot of his electric energy, but if he's doing that, there's no need to build up that kind of lane that early. Or Jimmy Menard is just being held up that heavily by Francesco Domu, who then makes a move on the inside of turn 1. Can he make it stick? He's gone very, very deep. He wants the inside for turn 2, but Jimmy Menard has the momentum, nearly comes together, but well driven from both of them. Yeah, Francesco Domu just went too deep, could not get the rotation he needed, and that has basically cost both of them a few tenths coming through turns 1 and 2. Menard and Domu saving more whoa dear, and that is trouble for Olivier de Melians in the Peugeot. Missing rear wing is going to be very, very bad luck. Well, bad show, bad driving, bad everything. And that is exactly why. I'm not saying Olivier de Melians is driving badly. I'm saying that's going to cause a lot of trouble for him. You need a decent amount of rear stability, but we've already seen the hypercars sliding around a lot. So that is a trip to the pits then for de Melians. And we've already lost one of our hypercars. Sakin Sobers is parked in the garage. So was there impact between de Melians and Sobers? We didn't see it if that was the case. But Sobers was already off the road. So that is trouble then. Well, two unrelated incidents that happened very close together. We look at this three-way fight for what is 7th position between Barnabas Fazekas, Marvin Butson and Pascal Gehrig. A little bit of a gap, fore and aft. And still Menard and Adamo locked together. Now, someone commented in chat, David Gibbons commented in chat, are they saving more VE? Well, if they're doing that, the whole hypercar field is doing that, because whilst Menard and Adamo are still glued together, they themselves are nearly 4 seconds ahead of the Porsche of Martin Mergley. So if they are saving energy, the whole hypercar field must be, because they're still pulling away from everybody else. Because Jack Howells seems to just be in the groove. Whatever he's doing is doing. That'll be why. Wow, is his virtual energy button glued down? Because he has burnt his entire battery. Oh, he's either forgotten to put in fuel, or he's gone for a very, very short first step. Oh dear. That's I suspect he may well have forgotten to come off of his qualifying fuel. But that would explain why he's been absolutely blisteringly quick for the first few laps. Well, Jack Howells, you've got quite an interesting race strategy ahead of you then, because you're going to be in the pits surely now, because these drivers are penalised for running down to 0% on the virtual energy. That percentage is not 100% there because it doesn't quite show the full fuel and virtual energy correctly from what I understand, and into the pits he does come. So whether he meant to or not, I suspect he didn't mean to. He has started very, very light on the opening gambit. So that's going to hand the lead over to Jimmy Menard with Francesco Adamu in hot pursuit. Has a look on the inside of turn 1. It's too far back to make a move from there. But he's going to stay glued to his fellow Ferrari. Running through turns 1, 2, now 3. Braking zone for 4 is going to be his next opportunity. Yeah, forgot to put in his race VE. Yep, I fully suspect, David, that is exactly what he's done, as that's a move there from Freyrum on Tobias Blumschein. Bearing in mind that Blumschein has been into the pits to replace his rear wing. So, oh no, wrong Peugeot. No, it wasn't. Oh no, it was Demelians. Oh no! Impact between Blumschein and Freyrum. So the Cadillac just stays on the road. No, big opposed was Demelians, wasn't it? That Demelians retired. So we've lost 2 of our hypercars before 10 minutes has even elapsed of this race. A great shame for them. But whilst Freyrum and Blumschein were arguing, that's allowing Lexi Taylor, I think it was, to close in on them. We now have a look at the front of our GT3. No, sorry, battle for third in our GT3s. Nico Barkley and Juha Mäki-Jopi arguing for the last step of the podium. So we'll see who's going to win out on there, but the 2 Mustangs just following on. Oh, is that a bit deep there for Barkley? Well, Barkley went for the early apex. You see, interesting, the 2 different lines they're taking, either by design or by mistake. And it's not really given either one of them an advantage. Oh, yellow flag somewhere. Someone's gone for an adventure. Unfortunately, we don't get to see who until until our camera operator is able to pick them up. And in fairness, Nick Domino, our camera operator's got a lot already to be looking at. He has got 27 cars to be keeping an eye on. And at the moment, we have got this brilliant battle for third position in our GT3s. 4 of our top 5 in the GT3s are all Fords. Riding on board then with the yellow Mustang of Juha Mäki-Jopi. You can see the BMW of William Giovannini, our GT3 championship leader, just ahead, trying to reduce the gap between himself and Jack Doran, which is no easy feat whatsoever. I said Zach Doran, beg your pardon, I'm muddling up drivers' names. And not far behind Mäki-Jopi is going to be Julian Weissenberger in the number 88, the next to the Fords. See what he is able to do, if he is able to close in at all on these dueling pair. There's the shot all the way down that back straight. There's the next of the Mustangs, and then the next of the BMWs. You see there is Adrian Kabaki. He's trying to size up an opportunity to close in. We'll see if he's able to close in at all on that gap. Now, though, Zach Duran has the rule of the roost, and there's no interest at all in slowing down. Just doing again what he... Ooh, Mäki-Jopi, you locked up very heavily there. Gone too deep. Going to try and close the door into turn 2. Both Mustangs getting a bit of a slide on. Nico Barkley, good exit from turn 3. Juha is flying, yes, but that was a bit of a lockup coming into turn 1. You saw the tail of the yellow Mustang get very, very loose, but that's deep for Nico Barkley. No, he does actually manage to get that one slowed down. Both of them brilliant racing. Still side by side as they come out of turn 4. That is advantage Mäki-Jopi, and he does gain that third position. God, that was a big move. But in fairness, there was such a little pace difference between himself and Nico Barkley. He had to do something different in order to gain that position. Now the hypercars are working their way through the tail end of our GT3s. This usually has the effect of mixing up the field somewhat. We look at Adam Sapler in the yellow Ferrari. He is chasing Barnabas Fazekas in the lead Peugeot. There's about a 6th position, and right behind Sapler is also Marvin Butson. There we go. You can see there the hypercars working their way past the GT3s. This is not going to be an easy track for the hypercars to work their way past because of how many turns are in it. There's 15 turns. Not all of them are strictly speaking turns. For turn 15, debatable whether that's actually a turn. But you get what I mean, as more corners for hypercars to have to deal with. As we work our way through turn 12. So now it's going to be a case of just work your way through the GT3s, see how the field then ends up. Traffic giveth and traffic taketh away as far as the hypercars are concerned. Now the GT3s will not be jumping out of the way of the hypercars coming through. Indeed, they are discouraged from doing exactly that. As the GT3s need to be, or the slower class need to be predictable. The faster class, certainly in this case, has the pace and the downforce to work their way past the slower cars, but they would plan their move very, very much in advance, and that's deep for Fazekas. That's going to compromise his exit out of turn 1, but no room for Sapler, though. Fazekas actually manages to close the door on Adam Sapler, or Adam Sapler is biding his time. We'll see what he's able to do. Gets very, very close to the back of the Peugeot, coming into turn 4. No room there, though, to use the additional pace. Adam Sapler piling the pressure onto Barnabas Fazekas. As the battle for third in the GT3s continues to rage on. Now, Nico Barkley actually getting out of the... Well, it did look like he was getting out of the way. He was actually sticking to the racing line. Now, oh, that looked very close between Nico Barkley and the Hypercar Porsche. Now, as mentioned, the slower classes have to remain predictable because the faster class will plan their move well in advance of them executing it. So the GT3s, in this case, tried to jump out of the way of the hypercars. They could actually jump in their way at a point that it's too late for the hypercar to react, and they both end off in a very big twisted mess off the side of the road. So the slower cars have to just remain predictable, and it's up to the faster cars to get past safely. Looking back from Juha Mäkijopi, and this is what it looks like from the kind of rear car perspective. Now, well judged there from the Peugeot coming in. So they could have tried to banzai the inside of both of the GT3s, but well judged there, slotted in between the two. Sometimes the hypercars have got to kind of, they have to be sensible. It is up to the faster car to make their way past the slow one, yes, but they can't just barge the slower ones out of the way. The GT3s have entitlement to track space as much as they do, so they can't just bully the slower cars off the road. Well judged there from Barnabas Fazekas. There is Jack Howells after his pit stop. So hopefully he's got enough juice on board. And he finds himself way down in 14th position, but keep an eye on him as he ought to be absolutely flying now. But is he going to be able to close in that gap before the end of the race? I mean, he's 51 seconds behind the lead now. Well, we'll see. We'll see how pit stops play out. Jerome Mitchell alongside Marco Bischoff. Cadillac getting... I did it again. I called that a Cadillac last time. The Corvette getting a bit out of shape coming out of turn 4. And that is Marco Bischoff then taking full advantage of that. Although the Ferrari looks a little bit uncomfortable coming out of turn 7. I don't know what it is, why I keep calling that car a Cadillac. I do not know. I'll be publicly flogged in the car park after the broadcast. But yes, I ended up nicknaming that thing the Corvette in Cadillac clothing or something like that last time around. So apologies there, Jerome. Let's hang on in there and the fringes of the top 10. Race leaders, Jimmy Menard and Francesco Adamu. Still not... falling out of the tyre tracks of Jimmy Menard. Jimmy is second. So the gap to So the gap we're obviously interested in, Jack Howes, he's come down by 2 seconds. So yes, I again, looking at the timing screen, yes, indeed. I mean, I guess Jack Howes is just kind of going to be flat out at this point. He's got nothing to lose. He's only got 40 minutes to close in 48 seconds or there or thereabouts. So yeah, that's going to be. Oh, it's still registering around 50 seconds at the moment, but he's got 41 minutes to close in 50 seconds. So he's going to have to rely on pit stops and misadventures of others to close in that gap. Although, yeah, if everybody else has to pit, then you could argue that he should be back to 6 seconds of the lead. Well, yes, granted, if that is the case, but you've got to think that Jack Howell's tyres are going to be that much older than everybody else's. So it's going to be an interesting game of cat and mouse here. We'll see. Menard continuing to... So you're not seeing Jimmy Menard fending off too many advances from Adamo. Adamo is just biding his time here. If we could bring up the percentages, please, production. Oh, and that's Adamo. A little bit deep there. No, that's interesting. Adamo is actually at percentage disadvantage of our top 5. I would have thought that Adamo would have actually had a bit of a percentage advantage, having been in Jimmy Menard's slipstream for so long, but it would seem that Francesco Adamo is having to push to maintain that gap to Jimmy Menard. So that is not looking good for Francesco Adamo.
Yeah, and that very much suggests as well, because you can't really save virtual energy in the slipstream. It's really all about deployment, essentially, rather than it's not like you can sort of save fuel lifting, coasting behind someone, certainly, and you can also save tires. I think the effect is a little bit less pronounced with the virtual energy, but I must admit I don't fully understand it myself. But yeah, that's that. So it does sort of make sense to me that Adamo, as you say, maybe pushing to keep the pressure on Jimmy Menard, has ended up using a bit more than Menard in front of him. They both squirrel the rear tyres out. And remember, Jack Cowles, of course, pit very, very early on in the race in this stint, didn't he? So he is currently, I think,
14th.
in about, still down in 14th, though. So we'll have to see if that massive undercut is going to play in his favour or not, or if he had some sort of other issue that forced an early pit stop like we saw with Marco Bischoff in the GT3 class. He pit at the end 2 laps into the race from 4th position, and is now currently to serve that driver, of course, from the previous event. This is what happens when you go and eat dinner and you just have to race on mute because you don't want to interrupt the radio program that your parents are listening to or whatever. But anyway, yeah, it's great to see Francesco Adamo, despite the sort of slower start that he had where he lost that pole position, is keeping our Fuji winner, Jimmy Menard, under intense pressure and scrutiny, which is what he's got to keep doing. But of course, they might want to keep half an eye on Mergely, who's only less than 2 seconds behind and starting to close. So Jimmy Menard is actually holding up Adamo in this stint, and that could have big consequences as the race goes on, Chris.
Could well do. I see a comment in chat that makes a very, very good point, that Howell's pit stop time will be much, much more because he's got to put more fuel in to get to the end of the race, assuming he's not going to pit again, which of course he will not want to, and there's no reason for him to, as we saw 55-minute stints from these cars in the 2.4 hours of Fuji, so they'll definitely they'll hold enough fuel to get them to the end of the race. But a very good point made there was, hello, that's Sattler trying to get past Vazikis. Now that Peugeot has been a bit of a stumbling block for Adam Sattler for pretty much the whole race, and manages to get it done. Nice move. That's 6th position to the yellow Ferrari.
Yeah, that was very, very tricky because he had to get alongside and sort of snatch the inside for turn 8 essentially. So yeah, Vazikis was very cooperative, and Zappler really had to get his elbows out to make that one happen. As we look, there is Butson, who's actually had a good start from, he was, I think, just outside the top 10. He's now running in the top 8, where Christian Bernani recovered from his own incident. Remember, there was that spin at the end of the beginning of lap 2, along with Zappler. Both of them, I think, they either hit each other or had separate incidents, and they both fell, lost several positions, and are now fighting back with the pace that they've got. Meanwhile, here's Adrian Kabacki in his BMW uh, keeping Julian Weisenberger close company indeed. And we've seen Giovannini starting to lose touch with Duran, but building a gap to Maki Yupi, so he's sort of in no man's land. But that shows the BMW still very, very competitive here at Bahrain International Circuit, and Kabaki is going to be keen to get through sooner rather than later here.
That he is. He has been staring at the back of Julian Weisenberger for a while now. And with nearly half the race gone, he will not want to be lingering there for too long. We'll see what he's able to do. Will the pit stop strategy go his way? We will see. They slide their way through turn 11, down to 12. So the GT3s, they can slide a little bit. As GT cars are a little bit more forgiving when it comes to a bit of slide. Although, again, they don't particularly like it. They will still chew. Not that much slide. That's the tail getting very, very uncomfortable on the exit of turn 13 as the tail just catches a bit too much of the rumble strip, upsets the balance of the car, but well caught. Major Kabaki is going to have to close that gap to Weisenberger back down again.
Yeah, that's always the way when you're following someone, especially in GT3. You can lose so much ground just with one mistake or a slightly sloppy exit out of a slower corner. Can leave you with a lot of work to do as we watch Lexi Taylor fighting to hold back Yanis Bugiera, who didn't have a great qualifying at all, and Bugiera up into 12th. We've seen that Lamborghini can be quite a force, especially around here in Bahrain, in the hands of there was a driver that was able to get it into third overall in the Platinum Split last season as well. And of course, who can forget Mikolaj Hutrishki, who's stuck with the Lamborghini as Bugiera. Just the rear's absolutely sliding through turn 11 there. So he is pushing to keep the pressure on Lexi Taylor, but the Brit yet to slip up at this phase. And yes, Taylor trying to keep the Ferrari with a small chance of finishing in the top 10, of course. And don't forget, they've also got Jack Cowles potentially behind them on the road. That could be a bit of a threat with his fresher tyres, although he did it, as we said, he'd have a longer stop because he had to put more fuel on. So it is possible the likes of Adama and Menard could overcut and come out ahead by putting on less fuel later in the race, depending on what the lap times look like, of course. See, Lucas Cruiser has continued to shadow Martin Mergeli throughout this stint in the fight for the final podium position here. And it'd be interesting as we see all the Corvettes split them up. And that's Jerome Mitral continuing to struggle, and Cruiser has to pick a side as Mitral is almost like standing still there on exit. So that was good reactions there from Lucas Cruiser to avoid disaster, but it's cost him a crucial couple of tenths of a second to Mergeli.
Yeah, that's the nature of multi-class racing, and Lucas Cruiser had to make a decision. And again, expecting the Corvette to go one way, then had to suddenly react. But again, the Corvette didn't really do anything wrong there. He's just following the natural racing line. It wasn't quite what Lucas was expecting, but no harm, no foul on this occasion. This is the gap between Marvin Butson and Christian Bernani, the Ferrari and Porsche respectively. Again, you can actually see from this camera angle just the way the tail is wagging on that hypercar. It's not wagging drastically much, unlike Romain Freire we saw in the previous shot. They're getting very, very out of shape. But again, as mentioned, these cars don't like sliding an awful lot. Yeah, actually, you can see how Marvin Butson's having to kind of throw the nose in to dance around the aforementioned Corvette. And that's on a relatively straight part of the circuit, or they were obviously coming out of turn 15. That's why I say relatively straight before anybody says the start finish straight is straight. But Christian Bernani still just hasn't yet been able to overcome.
It's not been a good lap for Menard. He's fallen. And that's Nick Dealey with a missing front left wheel. So he's clearly got the last corner very, very wrong, or he's bounced off another car into the wall, I suspect.
That was a short trip to the pit lane, at least, as we now see Menard in the clutches of Martin Mergeli. So was there an incident between Nick Dealey and Jimmy Menard? So we don't know. We didn't see how it happened. We just saw the outcome of it with the three-wheel Ferrari.
Two separate incidents because they weren't really on the same part of the racetrack. So Dealey, I think, maybe dropped it out of the final corner, hit the wall, and I think has then pressed escape to retire, even though he's right in front of the pit lane entry. I think he's knew might not have only been the front wheel missing, let's put it that way. I think there was quite serious damage to that car, and that's a big shame for Dealey because running top 7 in the GT3 Championship, that's really going to hurt him in the long run. Whereas here we go. Oh, more traffic there for Jimmy Menard. So Menard actually lost the lead to Adamu and came out just ahead of Martin Mergley then. So it's good for Mergley because he's got a Ferrari to get the slipstream off of rather than just worrying about Cruiser behind him. But yeah, as we get closer and closer to half distance, some of these drivers might be thinking about coming in before too long.
So Martin Mergley is shaping up for a move. He's just positioning himself on the inside line. Yes, he has gone for it on the inside of turn 1. Can he get it slowed down? It looked a bit uncomfortable. Menard tries to get the up and under on the Porsche, but Martin Mergley's not having that. Slams the door in Jimmy Menard's face. And Lucas Cruiser's not far behind, exactly as you were saying, Ed. So, yeah, that argument for second is very much on Cruiser. Good. Well, at one point, it was looking like a strong Ferrari representation at the top. And now it is Adamu that leads the way. Martin Mergley in the Porsche up into second. Jimmy Menard doing what he can. Oops, a bit of a twitch there coming down towards turn 8. And Lucas Cruiser, the lead Toyota, very much in the hunt for podium.
Yep, and look at this. There's some GT3 traffic that all three of them have got to negotiate here. Mergley, Menard and Cruiser. So at the moment you said, oh, if your name starts with J, this race is going well. But at the moment it's second and third are filled with men with M's at the end of their name. Martin Mergley's got 2 M's in his name, of course. One for the first name, one for the last name. So he's got both bases covered in the M territory. Adamu,
he's second a lap, surely.
Yeah, Adamu's even got an M near the end of his name there. So Cruiser just loses out a little bit in the traffic there, which gives crucial breathing space to Jimmy Menard. I wonder if Menard, maybe whatever happened to him, maybe he was nursing a bit of damage there because he just did not look as confident on the brakes as Martin Mergley. Not that Martin Mergley's ever been short of confidence under braking as we see the field start to close up. There's Adamu getting past William Giovannini, but Adamu's lost about 7/10 to Mergley here. So both our Ferraris struggling here, and it's the Porsche and Toyotas that are starting to come into their own as this stint ekes on.
Could well be. If they've been saving a bit of fuel or virtual energy for this point, they may decide to be pushing on towards the end of their first stint. Ooh, tail let go for Martin Mergley in just the wrong moment, and he was staring at the back of Giovannini, but manages to gather it up. And no harm, no foul. You can see that as, I guess that's under braking, but that still cost Martin Mergley a 10th or 2 as he's trying to chase off after Francesco Adamu. Oh, that's a battle for just outside the top 10. That's Lexi Taylor and Yanis Bagheera. They've been glued together for a while. One of our Ferraris and our sole Lamborghini, as they catch one of our GT3 Ferraris, who stays very much out of the way. So yeah, now there, the Ferrari, that's Marco Bischoff, that actually stayed very much out of the way. If he tried to return to the racing line, he'd have actually jumped in their way. So again, does need common sense from both sets of drivers on how best to behave. So, yeah, you can't say, well, that's the racing line, I'm going to assume. Oh, that is Kabaki. That is making a move on Weissenberger. I'll go back to that previous point in a minute. But Julian Weissenberger under all kinds of pressure for 5th position from the second BMW of Kabaki.
Yep, Kabaki is gone a bit tired of looking at the back of that black and gold Mustang, isn't he? And he wants to get the BMW ahead. So Weissenberger needs to wise up to what Kabaki's going to try and do here and get into all defensive positions that he can realistically get into, as he has to let the Peugeot up the inside into 15 before immediately cutting back to the racing line. Now he goes very, very wide on exit, and that is going to open the door. He needs to make sure he doesn't mess up the final corner exit here too, or Kabaki is going to breeze through in that BMW. We know both of these cars pretty good in terms of straight line speed and traction. Kabaki doesn't actually have a great entry, and that compromises his exit ever so slightly, but he is going to get that little toe of slipstream down the back straight here. So it looks like Weissenberger will be safe for at least the rest of this lap, you would assume. But you can tell the pressure's starting to pile up, and Weissenberger is really losing touch of the back. And Nico Barclays, Kabaki late on the brakes, just trying to unnerve Julian Weissenberger into turn 1, but not successful this time.
Cool, that was a That was a very, very long. I mean, yeah, they are on the brakes for quite a while into turn one, and that camera angle does accentuate it a bit, but that was quite a bit later than the Mustang ahead. I think that was not entirely by design for Adrian Kibaki there, because they did lose him around about half a tenth on his prey, but they are still very much glued together. We've got yellow flags out again. Someone has had a bit of, oh, looks like a bigger off-track excursion this time around. Yellow flags
not anybody in our top 5, so
no, indeed. So someone in the lower echelons of our grids have had a bit of a problem somewhere. Now it's Adamu that is getting on a bit. So we saw that. We wondered whether the Ferrari, our lead Ferrari, was struggling a bit. Now certainly got the hammer down again and has built that gap back up to 5.5 seconds or so.
Yeah, if Jimmy Menard's plan was to sort of follow Martin Merkley around and coast up to the back of Adamu, it's not working out so far. In fact, Cruiser is getting back within 1 second as Kibaki now much closer to the rear of Weisenberg. You can tell he's really strong through sector 2 here as he gets plenty of curb. That BMW just looks really confident and compliant over the curbs as our leaders are dipping below 25% virtual energy left. Again, Weisenberg goes very, very wide off track. He can't afford to do that too many more times. Kibaki's going to get the run. Weisenberg almost looks like he's lifting off there. And that's Kibaki into 5th position. And he's going to surely pinch Weisenberger to the outside to prevent him getting the line on exit there. So that was good racecraft from Adrian Kibaki in the BMW then. So that's the pole up to 5th.
And immediately to that defensive posture, goes straight to the inside line to defend against the Mustang and also to let Roman Freire through. Oh, is that going to be a move for Weisenberger? No, he thought about it, but opted not to dive to the inside of turn 1. Oh, there's Taylor and Bagheera again, arguing for 12. Oh, so they've been passed by someone. Have they been passed by
Freyrom, isn't it, in the Cadillac?
It is.
Yeah,
it is
Freyrom's up to 11. Yeah. He's made a lot of progress very quickly. I wonder if maybe Lexi Taylor and the Lamborghini came together there, but yeah, Adrian Kibaki still having to do a defensive drop into turn 4, so that really shows you just how good the Mustang is at following other cars around Bahrain International Circuit here. But yeah, he'll be relying on trying to escape up the road. Meanwhile, our second place battle between Merkley, Menard and Cruiser continuing to rage on as Merkley just cannot get rid of Menard or Cruiser, and you can see Roman Marchand is only a bit less than 2 seconds behind as well and starting to join up to this pack as well. So we've got 2 Toyotas, a Ferrari and a Porsche all disputing second position, but Francisco Adamu, he is checked out almost 7 seconds to the good here.
I think he's burning the battery as Adamu, but has he suddenly lost a chunk of time? It could be down to braking zones. Of course, Adamu's in a very different braking zone to the rest. But yeah, I wonder if Francesco Adamu just burned the battery here. He's just using up a significant portion of any kind of saved energy he has. That percentage, well, he's a slight percentage disadvantage to those behind him, but not by a huge amount. So Adamu, and you know, he was at a significant percentage disadvantage to Jimmy Menard, who still has a few more percent in his pocket. But again,
you know what
he's saving it for.
Jimmy Menard, I know what he might be saving it for. He might be trying to get to the end without doing a pit stop, which would be ambitious here. It has been done in these 1 hour sprint races before, but it does require a lot of saving. So it makes sense if he thinks, if he was behind Adamu realizing I can't, or ahead of Adamu thinking, look, he's just saving energy behind me. I'm not going to be able to get to this end without doing a stop if I keep up this pace. And then it makes sense why he's lost so much time and dropped behind Martin Merkley and decided to follow Merkley around. Of course, the danger here is he could find himself still having to save while the likes of Francesco Adamu can put on fresher tyres at the end and then just breeze past him potentially on with a bit more energy to burn through. But yeah, it is a bit of a tricky balancing act here. But if you can put it off, it could be quite a move of strategic genius from Jimmy Menard, especially given that Jack Howells is yet to really make much progress down the order since that early pit stop.
It's going very horribly wrong for Jack Howells. He's further behind. He's over a minute behind the leaders now. So Jack Howells down in 15th. They actually lost a position to Pascal Gehrig whilst we've been looking away. Oh, Jimmy's having a look on the inside of turn 1. He had a half a think, but did not commit to that particular move. He's got to keep half an eye behind him on Lucas Cruiser. and Romain Merchant, exactly as you said, Ed, is closing in on them. So Jimmy Menard, if he is planning on going to the end of the race, he would be quite happy for the fact that Martin Mergley is directly ahead of him, as we've got more of our GT3s to work our way through. The Corvette then, stay put, stay predictable. And that's what they've done, but it gets a little bit nervy as we've got a yellow flag out there again for something. That's that Corvette coming through when it did has actually allowed Merchant to really close in a little bit more on the back of Lucas Cruiser. There is Merchant, so it's now a four-way fight for second.
Yep, and to be honest, for Menard, if he can, even if he is genuinely in the same race as Martin Mergley, if he can do something clever at the pit stop and come out in second position, that wouldn't be the end of the world for him, considering that this is turning into quite the unusual race, isn't it, in terms of the Hypercar championship contenders, with Howells nowhere near the front, and Jimmy Menard. Adam Zappler had those issues early on. It's really only Menard and Adamu, and maybe Lucas Cruz in fifth, that have all sort of stayed out of trouble, as we see second, third, fourth, and fifth place drivers all in a line, and it is Marchand that's getting the mother of all slipstreams at the back of this, isn't it, from the fellow Toyota of Cruiser, and then Menard just biding his time, trying to outthink his opposition here, but all the while, Francesco Adamu is just extending that gap up front to nearly 10 seconds now, so yeah, he is sort of opening up Francesco Adamu's options here by playing it so cautiously.
Yeah, very, very true. It was Pascal Gerrig that caused that yellow flag. Don't know how, but he's now behind Jack Howells. He's fallen about 8 seconds or so behind our former Hypercar leader. There's our GT3 leader. We haven't seen him for a while now, nearly 7 seconds ahead of our GT3 class leader, Alvin Giovannini. And there is the BMW, who in turn is 2.6 seconds ahead of the next Mustang down the road of Juha Mäkiopi, who still has Nico Barkley for company. So that battle for third in the GT3 still very much on. Just watching that tower with intent with the Hypercar class. Look at that, with 40 minutes in, and second, third, fourth, fifth. What's not even 2 seconds between the four cars.
Yeah, you can certainly bet that your GT3 field are going to pit within the final 10 minutes here, whereas the Hypercars, I think quite a few of them, especially Jimmy Menard, but there might be one or two others, will try and eke it out to the end essentially. So yeah, but they'll want to pit as late as possible, just so they can put the least amount of fuel in that they'll need to finish the race essentially. But yeah, everyone's sort of worried about running out of tires as well, and I think we might see a lot of teams just sort of not bothering to change tires at the pit stop, because there'll be so little of the race left. That'll just, if they've kept them alive and they're in half decent shape, they may as well just keep going to the end and save the time in the pit lane. But yeah, it's going to be fine margins at the side. This is a second place battle really, and yeah, Jimmy Menard still sort of trapped behind Martin Mergley as a sort of cork in the bottle, and if these Toyotas are getting too close to the back of him, it could give him another problem, because they might nudge him round, or they might find themselves just sort of with not a lot of space for very, very fast and very, very impatient drivers to pass each other then. So, and you can see Mergley getting very, very defensive here, much like we saw in Fuji as well, where he took the lead early on and then was defending quite aggressively in the first stint as well. It's great to see Martin Mergley showing that wasn't just a one-off, and proving his pace, the Hungarian, of course, who's got so much sim racing and endurance racing specifically experience under his belt in prototypes. And it's great to see him proving that in VMS. He's another one of those great drivers that really, really hopes to prove what he can do in the Platinum Split, as he ride on board with Cruiser, going very, very wide through turn 9 and 10 there, as he desperately tries to get as close to the back of Jimmy Menard as he dares.
Oh, that got a bit spicy.
Oh, it's going to continue being spicy here, isn't it? Because look at this, they're going to try either way of those GT3s. Oh, you got to pick a side around the outside of the GT3 BMW, not the BMW, the Aston Martin, sorry. And you saw Cruiser, Menard and Mergley almost all had to pick different ways around that battle there as it's continuing on. That's the Ferrari of Bischoff, of course, trying to gain ground. He's got the insider. I think that's Neto that he's just passing there. And yeah, getting up the inside into the final corner there. But yeah, Menard, there was a small opportunity there. He tries to put pressure on. Marchand has had enough. He is the first to blink then.
Yeah, absolutely. So the first of our hypercars comes in from 6th position. I really thought Menard was in trouble there with the GT3 back markers. But thankfully, very, very well driven from all cars involved in that.
Sorry.
Yes, it was Galetti. I thought it was. I actually also thought it was Neto, but no, wrong Aston on that occasion. But yeah, Marco Bischoff fending off the advance. Well, was fending off the advance of the Aston Martin. Goes very defensive as the Aston Martin has a think about it on the run up towards turn 4. I think that is. But no dice there. Marco Bischoff fending off the advances of the British Mark as they come into the Twisties 5, 6, and 7.
Which Marco would your money be on, Chris?
Oh, Ferrari and Aston. Oh, that's a tricky
you've got to
one.
go for Bischoff, right? Because he's the guy who would be running up front if he didn't. Now, that penalties, I think, is that Butson that's gotten himself a penalty as he exits the pits there and comes out, I think, just behind Jack Howells. So that's really not worked out for poor Butson there.
So Jack Howells is now working his way. Is he getting the hammer down a little bit more? So as he's trying to work his way past Lexi Taylor, who's been involved in that battle with it was Marvin Butson for a period of time. That's close. It was also Yanis Bugaro that was involved with that battle with Lexi Taylor, but that's getting very, very uncomfortable for Butson. Nearly going a little bit too deep. Lexi Taylor, that's opportunistic on the exit of turn 8. That's not going to pay off for him.
Yeah, Lexi Taylor. You've got to feel for him because he spent the whole race holding off Bugera beautifully. As you see, Maki Yupi hits, which hands 3rd place back to Nico Barclay. But he's been holding off Bugera the whole race as Lexi Taylor. And now, all of a sudden, he's got another Ferrari emerging from the pits in front of him, Butson, that's got a penalty now. So he won't be ahead of him for much longer, but he's almost going to try and hold him up and back him into Bugera, whether he means to or not, essentially. So, yeah, all the meanwhile, Jack Howells, a place up the road in 11th, is going to try and make hay then with the undercut that he's got to try and get a few positions a bit closer into the top 10 here.
As we continue to look at our hypercar front runners, or some of our hypercar front runners. So this again is the battle for second. Mergley, Menard, Kreuzer, and now Sapler is the one that is chasing the podium group. Well, there's Nico Barclay in the distinctive blue Mustang, and then with Sapler, and then that's Fazekas also right behind Sapler. So we've got 2nd to 6th in our hypercars within half a dozen seconds of one another.
Yeah, at this rate, Mergley's backing up Menard so much that Adamu might be able to pit and come out ahead, given the rate that he's pulling away at the moment.
Oh, that'll be something, wouldn't it? That is Romain Merchant. Now, he has been into the pits, so it is all guns blazing for him now in the Toyota. Yes, Romain Freyrum in the Cadillac is the next car down the road, but some 5.5 seconds away. Oh, and that's Sapler and Fazekas having an argument.
Whoa!
Oh, well caught, sir. Sign that man up to the cricket team. He's not happy about that. The Peugeot driver, big flash of the lights there to Adam Sapler. He was a bit unhappy about that one. Didn't quite see enough of it to kind of apportion blame. But yeah, either way, Fazekas not pleased.
It was it's very difficult to overtake someone at the final corner by diving up the inside like Barnabas Fazekas tried to do there. So I'm not surprised it didn't work out. I think he flashed his lights at Sapler. He certainly wasn't happy with it, but I think it was always going to be a bit 50-50, and that's being generous with a dive at the final corner there. So Fazekas, maybe just knowing that the Peugeot naturally isn't quite as good as the Ferrari, sort of was trying to make a move and catch him out there. But yeah, Sapler held up a little bit by traffic. That's dropped him off the back just 1.3 seconds, 1.5 seconds rather, behind the Mergley Menard Cruiser battle. But of course, they're all going to be fighting. Marchand may well be able to undercut them once they all pit as well, as we look here at Pascal Gehrig recovering from his earlier spin. 14th, it looks like Bugera and Lexi Taylor were all fighting around. In fact, I think yeah, there we go. That's Jack Howells leading Butson and then Bugera. So I think Lexi Taylor's come in for his pit stop, which is what's going on there. as we
You would
see.
be right.
Howells has cleared Butson, which is crucial for Jack Howells in his quest to just sneak into the top 10 and limit the damage from today by getting a few points. Great to see, by the way, Tobias Blumschein is about 19 seconds ahead of Roman Marchand at the moment, of course, but he is, of course, yet to pit. But great to see Tobias Blumschein on for a decent result here, if you can just hold on to this. And Adamu pits from the lead. Well, we knew this was coming. But what's the end result of this going to be? Is Martin Merkley going to take the lead? Yes, he is. And Menard follows Adamu in, so he was not able to keep the virtual energy alive any longer. And it's a conga line in the pit lane. What order are the audience come out in? Adamu is now exiting, but he needs to make sure he doesn't get caught out by any of those coming in here.
Adamu and Vasikas up on the jacks in unison. So yeah, significant number of our hypercars. In fact, but Banani didn't pit either, so it's a Porsche 1-2 at the moment. How they'd love for this race to end right now. Adamu is out. We're back on track with 13 or so seconds. He's obviously still getting up to speed, so the tower is going to be slightly aggravated. So around about 13 seconds. Oh, side by side coming out of the pit lane exit. That's Sapler that's just managed to beat. No, he hasn't. He's been beaten out, sorry, by Cruiser. Oh my goodness! No.
And there's Marchand.
Very uncomfortable. Yeah, that's Marchand getting involved, and that's impact between Sapler and Cruiser. Here comes Marchand trying to get involved. He's boxed in a little bit behind the Toyota and the Ferrari. Romain Marchand, he's got one. Is he going to get Sapler as well? His tyres are up to temperature. Well, they probably didn't change tyres in the pit stop, but Sapler just holds on to fifth, does he? No, not quite. Romain. Oh, that's a fair amount of bravery going on from Marchand. Does manage to make it stick, though. The Ferrari's got a little bit deep. Here comes the Peugeot of Fazekas. Sapler on the inside line as well. Oh, there's a punch in the face there from Marchand. Oh, it's still going on, but the biggest victor there was, was Cruiser that had the punch in the face. It was Marchand that came out on top of that particular melee.
Yeah, there we go. So the number 8 Toyota came out behind, but was able to make the moves in quick succession. Don't forget, Fazekas now might be looking to take advantage in a past Cruiser, as well as Merkley has to come in and pit from the lead. I think Banani might be also about to pit as well at the same time. So Adamu should be about to re-inherit the lead then from Jimmy Menard, but Marchand is only 1.5 seconds behind. So this pitting that lap earlier has worked out really, really well for the number 8 Toyota then, with Adam Zapla trying to keep Cruiser and Fazekas in the rear view mirror then. There we go. Adamu re-inherits the lead, and Jimmy Menard is going to be 12 seconds in arrears then. So you've got to say, Francesco Adamu has played this one absolutely perfectly. William Giovannini, I think, is one of our first of our GT3 leaders to come in with 9 minutes remaining, and I suspect he's very much not the only one.
Zach has already been through. Zach Doran has already been into the pits, so he now finds himself 4th in class in our GT3s as we look again at this fabulous scrap going on in our hypercar class. Sapler defending heavily from Cruiser now. I think it's going to be all gloves off now. There's not going to be any kind of tyre or fuel saving going on. If you've got the... Oh, and that's a twitch there from Sapler that's going to deny him momentum. Fazekas has got a great ringside seat for the battle going on ahead of him. And that's allowing... That's Marchand that's now up into 4th with the pit stops going on. So, there was a bit of a moment there for Cruiser. Possibly a bit of an understeer moment going into turn 8. Oh, goodness me. This is a great scrap going on for 4th.
Yeah, and you can see how much Jack Howells, who was leading the race, let's not forget in the early part of it, is about 7 seconds down the road from this battle over 5th position, essentially. So that really shows you just how much ground he has lost. Although I suppose it is for 4th, because Marchand has not quite been able to escape up the road and challenge Menard just yet. Merkley, interestingly, came out of his stop nearly 5 seconds ahead of Jimmy Menard, so putting in a bit less fuel has worked out brilliantly for the Hungarian. So yeah, Martin Merkley has driven a very, very good race. He's got 2% less virtual energy though, so can't afford to chew through it too quickly here. But I think Merkley has pulled a bit of a blinder here. Him and Adamu have that outfox their opposition quite convincingly here. As we look at the GT3 order, it is still very much as it was. Duran leading Giovannini, Maki Yippee, Barclay, and Kabaki are top 5.
That's assuming that Adamu can make that strategy work, though, because he has been on really untouchable pace for quite some time now. We hope he hasn't burnt too much out of the tyres or out of his tank. as we see Adam Sapler really hustling Roman Marchand now. So there's a battle for fourth. That's allowed Jimmy Menard 3.2 seconds up the road. There is the Ferrari just coming through the shot now. Adam Sapler, he's thinking about it. He thought about it. He changed his mind. He changed his mind again and managed to avoid slamming into the back of Marchand.
Whoa,
Oh, that's Bernard. That's
Howells.
Howells. That's Jack Howells. Oh my goodness me! So he was up into 10th and has now buried the Ferrari into the wall.
How's he managed that? That's out of turn 2, isn't it? As you can see them just going into turn 1 in the background.
I'm not certain where that is. Is that? Where is that? I can't figure out where that is.
I just told you where it was, turn 2.
It definitely is turn 2. Oh, okay. So that's. Yeah, how? He must have pulled that off, surely. He must have had some kind of issue and pulled the car off manually.
Possibly got tapped at the rear, or the rear tyres just absolutely dropped on him. But of course, no replays available for the spectators of Le Mans Ultimate, unfortunately. So we can only speculate, and I doubt Jack Howells is in a mood to tell us after the race. So.
No. Yeah, trying to grab him for an interview would be a very bad idea.
Oh, and speaking of bad ideas, Marchand gets very, very badly held up there by the McLaren, and now here comes Adam Sapler still side by side as Cruiser tries to take advantage and going round the outside of the final corner. Will there be space for both of them? Cruiser surely going to get forced out here if he's not careful, but he's trying to use a bit of the slipstream from Marchand's Toyota in front of him, and you can see Cruiser sort of just trying to avoid getting caught up in this battle too much as well, hoping to take advantage of it, and again late on the brakes from Cruiser, but Sapler also leaves the braking until the last minute, is able to get the apex for turn 1, and Moss's Ray to hold on to 5th position there, but 5 minutes to go. I think you're right, the gloves are well and truly coming off here, and Marchand it's just got to go in defensive mode. He wants to hold on to what would be his best result of the season so far in 4th position.
Toyota versus Ferrari versus Toyota versus Peugeot for 4th place here. And yeah, this battle is going to go to the flag. It is absolutely fantastic. I'm also keeping an eye on that gap for Menard against Merkley. I wonder if that's going to come down to any significant amount with less than 5 minutes to go, as we see Sapler again having a look at Marchand, but not able to make a move here. Is Fazekas going to try and make a move on Kreuzer? Well, that's not really an ideal place to do it, down into turn 11. But still keeping the pressure on, trying to force the mistakes. They dance around one of the Astons. Oh, Sapler, he's got the pace, but just has not yet been able to overcome Roman Marchand, who's done a great job in just, being in the right place at the right time to get up into 4th. Yeah,
and Sapler, after slightly disappointing performance in qualifying, has actually recovered quite well in this phase of the race to be in the top 5 right now, weaving around to keep the pressure on Roman Marchand. Remember, Sapler 3rd in the championship behind Jimmy Menard, ahead of Adamu, although that's only by about 5 points at the moment. At the end of this, that could well change with the performance Adamu's put in, and of course Jack Howells might not be scoring anything today, as now Sapler is gearing up for a move, follows Roman Marchand to the outside, attempts to duck up the inside, but again, it's all just smoke and mirrors there. And yeah, we have had some speculation that maybe Jack Howells had a hardware failure, which is why he was sort of parked up at the side of the circuit facing the wrong way there. Maybe he had the wheel fail coming out of turn 2 and just left him going all the way to the right, as that's really defensive from Roman Marchand. Immediately to the inside is Sapler going to dive underneath. No, Adam Sapler's round! Oh dear, that could be very costly in the championship as he immediately spin turns, but that's 2 positions gone, as there just was not enough space to go up the inside of Roman Marchand. You see Benani trying to defend 8th from Pascal Gerrig, and it's Gerrig in the Peugeot up the inside as they go towards turn 5, and Pascal Gerrig, a little bit of side-on contact between the 94 and the number 6, and it's Benani that has to lift off there. Wow, it's getting very, very no-holes-barred as everyone bumps into each other, Chris.
Very much so, and I think Benani kind of saw the incoming Aston as well, and did the right thing and bowed out of that particular challenge. But you got to feel for Adam Sapler. Just that is not what you want to see. Challenge for 4th becomes demotion to 7th. Oh dear. But the battle still rages on. Cruiser still with Fazekas right behind him. And Merchant, he's still under pressure. He's just been under pressure from someone all race long. And now it is Lucas Cruiser as the 2 Toyotas staring, would be a solid manufacturer points haul, if such a thing was in this particular championship. It isn't. They're all each driver out there for themselves as they face the tail of the second of the Astons with only a couple of laps left, less than 2 minutes to go.
Yeah, Makiyupi, by the way, is only 1.3 seconds behind Giovannini, so that really shows you that the Makiyupi, who I believe, if I'm not mistaken, is a Finnish driver, really putting the pressure on the Italian. He's actually driven a quietly really strong race to not only get ahead of Nico Barkley early doors, but now pull a 4-second gap to him and challenge for second place on a day where Zach Duran, I think, clearly had the better of everybody, and I think Duran is putting himself in a very good position for this championship then. And as we get, Menard is still all over the back of Mergeli. Actually, he's caught up significantly in the fight for second, so I think Mergeli has been backing off a little bit in these final few laps. You can see the freeway fight between Marchand, Cruiser, and Fazekas for fourth position as well, just behind them. And Fazekas going a little bit deep, just go aggressive into the turn 10 hairpin there. To try and keep Cruiser company here, but they're starting to spread out just a little bit, but maybe Bischoff's Ferrari GT3 can split them up slightly. But Jimmy Menard, 40 seconds left on the clock, one more lap to go, and Menard knows he is running out of time if he wants to limit the damage that Adamu can do in the championship. It's going to be whether he can get past Martin Mergeli now. It's going to decide whether he's going to come away in the lead of the championship or behind this man Adamu as he begins his final lap of the race. And look at this, Menard up the inside. So I think Mergeli was saving energy or fuel somehow there. He gambled with a shorter stop to get second position, but now he finds himself behind and in the tow.
Yeah, so I wonder whether Mergeli was just losing the fuel-saving battle, but it does look like he's trying to put the pressure back on Jimmy Menard. He wants that second position back again. By the way, Adamu's got no such worries with 21 seconds to the good. Then a little bit further back, as this battle between Cruiser and Fazekas still rages on. So what was a four-way battle for fourth is now two pairs, a battle for second and a battle for fourth, with varying participants involved in it. But Martin Mergeli, it doesn't look like he's got that pace, does he? Either his tyres are gone or the fuel tank is empty. Either way, it doesn't look like he has an answer to Jimmy Menard. There's already nearly a second between the pair of them, but that is your race leader, and you can't take it away. Francesco Adamu has done a brilliant job in playing the strategy absolutely right, and his pace has just been undeniable.
Indeed it has. So on a bad day for Jack Howells, on a day where Jimmy Menard sort of got the strategy wrong, didn't he? He had that difficult moment. We didn't quite see what happened where he lost the lead to Adamu, but Adamu from fourth on the grid has been brilliant today then. Just one more corner to go for Francesco Adamu, the Italian then, who's going to take his first win in a Ferrari here in Bahrain in the gold split here to get himself right into the heart of this championship battle in the top three. He swerves as he comes towards the timing beam. Adamu wins round 3 of the gold split here in Bahrain in commanding fashion by 23 seconds over Jimmy Menard, who is just going to hold off Martin Mergeli, and Roman Marchand is actually caught up to Mergeli. Mergeli is really struggling on this final lap here as he comes out the final corner to the line. Our two Toyotas very close to each other. And that looked like the BMW just getting well out of the way there, and luckily not involved in the battle at all was Kabaki there. But yeah, there's Zach Duran, who I think has crossed the line to win in the GT3 class from William Giovannini then. So I think Duran will gain some points, but Giovannini still leading in the GT3 class.
Marco Bischoff then comes home in the Ferrari, just behind Julian Weissenberger. Good result.
P6 then.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, so that's
P7, sorry.
Fourth. Yes, indeed. So yeah, Julian Weissenberger, fourth in the championship. He'll enjoy that one. Still more cars to come over the line. There's Roman Freirem in the Cadillac, chasing home one of the Aston Martins. Not 100% sure which is either Galetti or Nito. Galetti's in the pit, so it must be Nito then to cross the line. So yeah, Adamu from Menard from Mergeli, your podiums in the hypercar class. Duran, well, again, we barely saw Zach Duran, did we? He led from pole and just did what he needed to do. Just kept building that lead little bit by little bit as the race went on. There's Maciej Kasprzyk in the Sol McLaren. He comes home in 10th in the GT3s.
Yeah, a pretty solid race, all told, as we see Jerome Mitral, who was bemoaning his performance before the race even started. He's going to finish a lap down, but he does finish just outside the points in 11th position. So, yeah, getting the Corvette to the end, I think, is a bit of an achievement in itself, as he decides to dump the left foot on the brakes there and just give the 82 have a bit of fun with it out there. And hey, why not? Because it's been a fun hour for Jerome, hasn't it? Anyway, a confirmation of our top 10 finishes after 30 laps of racing. Zach Duran wins the second GT3 race of the season to bet him back into the top 3 in the championship. William Giovannini, 6.9 seconds in arrears in the BMW. A good performance, but very much overshadowed by the returning American driver who showed him how it was done today. Giacomo Yupi finishes third in the 44 to take his first podium. Great performance from the Finn to beat Nico Barclay, who's very much no slouch. He was a second behind, just under a second behind at the finish. Adrian Kabacki, second of our BMWs, he got home in fifth. Julian Weissenberger was sixth from Marco Bischoff, the man who was second in the championship, was running 4 early doors, had to serve that drive-through penalty for an infringement. Marco Galetti, who joined very, very late to the grid, didn't he? Or was it Belchio Neto who did that? One of the two. It was Belchio who was the late comer. Yeah, so Galetti solidly in 8th. Neto recovers from the very back of the grid to finish 9th, albeit 70 seconds off the lead. And Maciej Kuszczyk gets the point for the McLaren, but 90 seconds down on the overall lead. Jerome Mitral, as we said, getting to the finish, but no such joy for poor Nick Dealey, who loses the front left wheel.
Yeah, that's one way to win your race, I suppose. So in our Hypercar class, there was Francesco Adamo, who played the strategy brilliantly well. He just ran off in the end. No challenge for him. Jimmy Menard with a wonderful battle with various different M's in the course of the race. Martin Mergley comes home in third. Roman Marchon fourth. Lucas Croizet in fifth. Barnaby Fazekas in sixth. Adam Sapler, whoa, what could have been for him in the yellow Ferrari, coming home in seventh in the end. Christian Bonini eighth. Pascal Gehrig ninth, and Thomas Blumschein saw at times during the course of the race rounding out the top 10. Marvin Butts in 11th, Roman Freire 12th, Lexi Taylor 13th, with Yanis Bugera rounding out the finishing cars in the Lamborghini. We lost in the course of the race Jack Howells, Olivier de Millians, and Sakin Tobers.
Just seeing a comment in the chat from Nico Barclay, who is bemoaning. He says he's saying something a little bit out of anger at there, as in Yukamaki Yupi, just bleeding getting the better of me today. And Jerome Mitro says, well done, Romain, for finishing in P4. So yeah, good to see our drivers a little bit begrudgingly annoyed at one another, but also supporting one another when they do well as well. So yeah, that was a pretty good sprint race all in all. I'm sorry that I had to leave halfway through it to get some dinner, but I did come back at least. And anyway, I think since we got to go off air, nobody wants to be interviewed, is just as well, because they haven't got time to do it anyway. So then let's recap then. Congratulations to our winners in the form of Zach Duran in the GT3 class and Francesco Damu in the hypercars. Thank you very much to you, Chris, for joining me, and to Nicolas Tomino on broadcast direction. So our next gold split race will, of course, be round 4 at Sebring on the 18th of May in 2 weeks' time. But before then, we have got the platinum split round at Bahrain on the 11th of May, of course, on that evening. So make sure you tune in for that, because that is bound to be extremely entertaining for everybody taking part. Of course, with the championship, they're very much heating up. I forget who's actually leading in both of the standings at the moment, but I'm sure I can confirm that for you when we get going then. So any final thoughts before we go off air, Chris?
You've summed it up perfectly well. We very much look forward to getting the next round underway in 2 weeks' time in Sebring. Unfortunately, I will not be with you on that one, as I will be coming back from trackside commentary at Cadwell Park on that weekend, which I'm looking forward to. So yes, we will see the Platinum boys do this all over again next time out on next Sunday. So that'll be the 11th. So we hope to see you lovely spectators along for the ride.
Thank you very much, and good night.